Hello there. Today I'm taking a look at a dry white wine from the south of France. The grape variety concerned is Viognier. The producer is Domaines Paul Jaboulet Aine. The vintage 2021. And this is a wine that's classified as a Vin de France. So actually this is basically it's an entry-level wine from Domaines Paul Jaboulet. A very well-known producer, predominantly of Rhône wines. I suppose with their concentration on Hermitage, the wines that they're known for, Hermitage La Chapelle, the white version, the Chevalier de Sterenberg, and their Crozes-Hermitage Domaine de Thalabert. Quite recently, Hermitage La Chapelle has been separated off to become its own separate entity, its own domain with its own winery. However, the rest of the company continues to make their wines as they always did. The company's history dates back to 1834 when Antoine Jaboulet founded it. His sons Paul and Henri continued and built up the company. And Jaboulet became renowned producers of some of France's finest wines. Certainly in the 60s, Jaboulet's Hermitage La Chapelle, there are vintages there that are reckoned to be amongst the world's greatest wines. However, come the 1990s, the company was perceived as having gone into decline. The quality of its wines seemed to be slipping. In 1997, Gérard Jaboulet, the father of the family, died. And so it was that the company was in a bit of a decline when in 2006, the Swiss billionaire Jean-Jacques Frey bought the company. Jean-Jacques Frey installed his daughter Caroline, a newly qualified oenologist who studied at Bordeaux University, to run the company, and they were able to invest in new facilities. One of the first things they did was to construct the whole state-of-the-art gravity-fed winery to ensure wine production could be done in the gentlest possible way. And since then, Caroline has worked to instigate first organic and then biodynamic practices in the vineyard. And actually what they've done there has been incredibly impressive, including wildlife reserves within their vineyards and just paying attention to the whole ecosystem within the area. I think you can see there's been a commensurate improvement in the quality of wines resulting from this attention. There's not a huge amount of information online about this wine, and there's a little confusion as well, because it appears that there are two wines that are very similar, or sometimes it's labelled as Viognier Secret de Famille, and sometimes you just see the wine labelled as Viognier. I don't think these are two separate wines, but it's possible that I'm wrong there. The Viognier grows on 20-year-old vines in the Mont Ventoux region. So you're largely on hillside sites, but with varying altitudes going down to sea level. So in this region you get, partially because of the hills, you get good cool evenings, but hot sunny days. The majority of soil types are calcareous with a little clay, so that's good at providing water for the vines, but regulating the amount of water they can take. As with the rest of the domains, these vineyards are both organically and biodynamically certified. When it comes to picking, the fruit is hand harvested. It's picked as whole bunches into cages, small cages, so that the fruit doesn't get crushed on its way to the winery. So when it arrives at the winery, it's completely healthy. It won't have degraded as a result of travel. There, it's whole bunch pressed, giving lovely clean juice. I would assume it's allowed to settle, and then it ferments in stainless steel tanks. So there's temperature control to slow the fermentation rate there, just to prevent the fermentation from stripping the aromatics if it goes on too quickly and creates too much heat. After fermentation, the wine is left on its fine lees, so dragged off the heavy leaves, it goes back in on its fine lees, and it continues to age in tank for a further 6 months, just to give the palate a little more weight and richness. It's suggested that you drink this up within 2 years. I had a look at the ratings that this has received, and over the vintages, our aggregated critics score is in the mid to high 80s. So not particularly generous. However, I did note that this vintage won a silver medal in the Sakura Wine Awards, where it was seen as one of the best wines to go with Thai food. So that's a Japanese wine award. I've also seen a suggestion from a retailer that this is an excellent bargain alternative to Condrieu. So let's see if that claim stacks up, shall we? Firstly, looking at it, I've got a medium to deep yellow there. It's a sort of a straw yellow. Swelling it, the wine has 13% alcohol according to its label. It is clinging to the glass, but it's not. It's very, very slowly creating tears there. So there's a little bit of viscosity actually. let's see what we make of the aromas, shall we? The aromas are delicious. There are quite lifted floral notes. It's tropical, there's ripeness there. I'm thinking of pineapple, I'm thinking of peach and apricot, and sort of ripe, juicy versions of those fruit. But I'm talking about lift. There is a lifted blossom perfume. There's a sort of a honeyed, slightly honeyed nature, maybe a touch of honeysuckle. Not to the extent that you'd get with a sweet wine, but there is just some sort of lovely floral top note there as well. So a very attractive, relatively intense aroma. So let's have a taste. A number of things strike me about the palate. First of all, this has really good acidity. There's a freshness, minerally crispness, almost a slight saline touch there that really is enlivening the front palate there. Secondly, all the lovely aromas on the nose are finding their way through to the palate. There's not quite the richness of the sort of apricot and peach that you saw in the aromas, but there is that sort of high-toned, more sort of almost pineapple touches there because of the good acidity, but the high-toned floral top notes, maybe a hint of citrus, but more delicate stone fruit notes, more on the peach end of the spectrum than the apricot. The fruit is quite simple in terms of its flavour. It's quite one-dimensional. It's not developing particularly. However, there's a texture, you know, there's a little bit of sort of a little tiny bit of phenolic body there. The wine's probably medium bodied. It's not a huge rich wine, but it has a little bit of weight to accompany its aromatics. The alcohol seems perfectly in balance. This doesn't stand out at all. Sometimes that can be a danger with Viognier, that if you're trying to get the fruit too ripe, you end up with alcohol smothering the delicate aromas. Here the aromas are allowed to express themselves, and that minerality is giving a cleanliness to the finish that's very attractive, and it's allowing those floral notes and hints of salinity to come out there. Now, I posed the question, might this be a bargain equivalent to a Condrieu? I think it's a bit of a stretch of the imagination to suggest that this would be the equivalent of a Condrieu. But I think if you're thinking of more elegant styles of Condrieu, and the producer I'm thinking of here is Georges Vernet, that sort of more lifted, less alcoholic, less full-bodied style of Condrieu. Some of the aromas here, in their simplicity, are those that you would see from a Condrieu in that style. So actually, I think there's some validity to the claim. I don't think this is a wine that's going to age for a long time. It's not got the sort of the structure. A good Condrieu of the sort that I was talking about there would probably have been fermented and aged in oak, which would just give it a bit more structure and a bit more guts. But this is a lovely fresh example of Viognier that's freshness and elegance lifts it and is giving it lovely length. I think to drink this over the next year or two would provide a lot of pleasure, and I should imagine drinking it with Thai food would be a beautiful match. So thank you so much for joining us. I do hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, do please press the like button. If you'd like to watch more of these videos, do please subscribe to our channel and join us there. It would be fantastic to have your support. If you have any comments you'd like to leave, please pop those in the comments box below. We would love to hear what you think about the wines we're tasting, the tastings we're doing, or anything else that relates to it. If you have friends you think might like to watch the video, do please feel free to share it with them. That would be fantastic. I will leave a link in the notes below to the page on the Wine Searcher website that details this wine, where you can buy it, what its price is, and any other background information that we have available there. So thank you again for joining us, and do please try and take some time and come and join us for another tasting in the very near future, won't you? Thanks again. Bye for now.